All right, let's get right to it. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Nonstop Steph, and I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my thoughts here on the Bradley Beal trade to go ahead and get him with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about this big three and a lot of the misconception, in my opinion, around Kevin Durant when it comes to big threes. I don't give a lot of credit towards the big three, if you want to say, of him, Westbrook, and Russell, and James Harden. Because when you look at that, I mean, at that point when they split up, right? I'm only talking about when they split up. He was 23 years old. James Harden was 22, so that was nowhere near their prime ages. They were all just young. Obviously, they were successful for their age, obviously, but at the same time, let's not overhype it and be like, wow, he's been on so many big threes by counting this one. So first and foremost, I don't count that one. Then when he went over to Golden State, that one is what it is. There's no defending that. Then when you get to the Nets, I guess you can call it an attempt at a big three, but I can't call that a big three. Him, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving just about never played together, so I don't really, again, give too much like, oh my goodness, Kevin Durant super team stuff. I don't do that just because the only real one you can really say that about was his time with Golden State. The other ones, again, if you want to call them attempts when it comes to the Nets and whatever else you want to say when it comes to Oklahoma, I can't be that guy. You can decide to be that guy, but I won't be, right? Now, when it comes to this one, obviously the way that you might be able to look at this is Devin Booker is playing the Stephen Curry role here in the sense that Devin Booker, clearly this is his team and everybody came to join up with him, right? No one's going to say that Devin Booker is the same player as Stephen Curry, but I will say that there are some similarities, right? Before Kevin Durant teamed up with Stephen Curry, he wasn't all over the radar and everybody's top point guard in the league for years and years and years. He wasn't some super established. Now, granted, he did have a couple good years before Kevin Durant and him teamed up, but that wasn't like groundbreaking. The main thing is obviously the 73-9 season, which was the year before. But if you go back before that, they won the finals the year before that. And then before that, it wasn't really super, well known. He wasn't like, like I said, someone who's on top of everybody's charts of, oh my goodness, this guy, Stephen Curry. That wasn't the case at that time. So I will say that Devin Booker has been in the front of people's minds when you rank the best shooting guards in the league. He's got the idea of being, similar to Kobe in the sense that he's just, just a scoring machine, right? The work ethic, the drive, all the different things you want to use to describe Devin Booker. However, again, he's not been in the everybody's favorite and best shooting guard. So I think that Kevin Durant might be able to elevate Devin Booker to that in our minds if they're able to be successful, right? Because like I said, it was the success that Stephen Curry has seen, and a lot of that success came alongside of Kevin Durant that made him get into our minds as the best point guard in the league, and soon to be in many eyes, best point guard ever. I don't think that he garnishes that same level of respect, if not for Kevin Durant, and I feel as if that in this situation, we might be able to say a very similar thing for Devin Booker here in the next couple of years if he does play to that level. Now, again, I don't expect anybody to see Devin Booker rise to the best shooting guard of all time. He's not going to eclipse Michael Jordan, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, and a couple others. However, he's going to probably find himself amongst some of the greatest of all time at that position if he is able to be successful with Kevin Durant. And again, I think a lot of that goes to Kevin Durant's effectiveness when it comes to being on a team, right? He's just that good at playing basketball, right? Then how does Bradley Beal fit into this, right? So in my opinion, Bradley Beal's got probably the least to gain here because he's gonna more than likely, in my opinion, be the third wheel, and there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, it's gonna be very, very cool to watch. I don't know that they're going to be able to be as great, with him as they might be with someone else on this team to make this big three, just because of the obvious things, right? They don't have a primary, point guard that you would really look at and be like, yeah, that's the ball distributor going forward, right? As of right now, in my opinion, it's clearly going to be Devin Booker. And when you look at what he did in the playoffs after CP3 went out, he played that role, and he played that role well. Now, I don't know that he's going to be able to do that for 82 games straight. And at the time of this recording, their roster is very, very not full, right? They've got 5 players coming into the season right now. They got 5 players. So obviously, I do expect them to pick up some point guards, but I think that this would also go very, very well for Devin Booker's future legacy, because I do think that he is going to be the primary ball handler for this team. I think that he can do it, and just the fear of his scoring capability is going to allow them to be, the spacing's going to be crazy, right? Kevin Durant's going to not be able to get double teamed. No one's going to double team Bradley Beal. A lot of, if they can get movement, which is not something that these players are like historically known for. Yes, there was that one year where I think if you look up the stat, it was Bradley Beal, I want to say it was 3 years ago, ran the most miles in the entire NBA because of just how much movement he actually had. But outside of that, it's not like you look at Bradley Beal and you're like, wow, this guy runs around like crazy like Steph Curry does, right? That's not what you see with any of their games. So hopefully they're able to get some good ball movement. Hopefully they're able to get, a lot going on, a lot of actions going on away from the ball, because these guys are going to be open, right? If you can imagine a screen, right? Just imagine DeAndre Ayton comes to screen from, for Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker is holding the ball. So the immediate thought is we need to go straight to Kevin Durant, because if he gets open, oh no. That's going to open up a lane for DeAndre Ayton, right? There's always been the conversation around DeAndre Ayton about like, hey, we need to get him the ball more. He's looking for more shots, this, that, the other. And he has the offensive capabilities. Some might say he's not aggressive enough. And, that might be a conversation for later. But at least I can say there's going to be so much actions that you can do, and every time end up with an open player. So I don't know. I don't think I need to make a lot of conversation around the offensive capabilities of this team, because it's endless. This conversation would go on forever. We could talk about how many different ways each of them can get open. Heck, even if Bradley Beal screened from Kevin Durant, you're already just freaking out. You don't want Bradley Beal to get open. Do you switch and put a bigger guy on Bradley Beal? Do you put the smaller guy on Kevin Durant now? Oh my goodness, right? We can just go on and on about all the offensive capabilities of this team, right? Now, how does DeAndre Ayton fit into this? In my opinion, you're going to see a lot of conversation around maybe we need to trade DeAndre Ayton. And in my opinion, yes, you can. I don't know that you need to. I don't think that you need to split him up for a couple other players. Now, of course, it just depends on what the offer is. I don't know how heavy people are searching for DeAndre Ayton, because to me, I don't think his value is actually as high as it should be. I think you would trade him for, if he's $1 piece, you might trade him and get 3/4. I think you lose a little bit if you trade him. However, they do need to flesh out this roster, so maybe it makes sense to trade $1 for 3/4. I don't know. Hopefully you can, but if I were them, it would just have to make a lot of sense, right? Now, I know that there's the whole chemistry and the morale issues there as well. So again, if the 3/4 does make sense, then go for it. But I actually like DeAndre Ayton's fit on this, because they don't have, obviously, another big man on the roster at the time of this recording. All they have is the 4 that I've mentioned and Cameron Payne. So they do need to have a big man of some sort, and I do think that he can garnish enough attention. He's obviously capable of getting boards and getting buckets. A lot of the other big men that you might consider seeing him in a trade with won't have the same scoring potentials. Now, they might have some other upsides in regards to defense and, hopefully some rebounding and just a couple other things that hopefully, they are able to bring to this team. But I just don't think that you're going to lose him and get a better center. I don't think that's the plan. Maybe you're going to lose him and find some other wing players, or maybe another point guard that can play. But I don't know. I don't feel good about the idea of trading DeAndre Ayton, not until I see what the offers really are. And I'm not going into one of those trade machines on NBA.com or whatever, right? I'm not doing that. So instead, I'm going to talk about this as if he's staying, as I already have. And I see a lot of success, right? If this was NBA 2K, right, and you were to pick the 4 best players on any given roster, the Suns would have the best 4 players. There's just no other team, and I hate to say it, but even if you look at the Nuggets, who just won the championship, they don't have a better top-heavy 4 players, right? Jokic, Murray, I guess you would say Aaron Gordon, and MPJ is not better than Beal, Booker, Durant, and Ayton. That's just not better. Now, there might be some one-on-one matchups there that you might say is better. You might tell me that Jokic is better than Ayton, and I wouldn't argue. I don't think that Jamal Murray is better than Kevin Durant. I don't think that MPJ is better than Bradley Beal, and I don't think that who would be the fourth there? I feel like I already missed one. Yeah, but point being is I just don't see these guys are to be better than. And there's just not another 4 players that are better than these 4 on one roster. Now, anybody and everybody should know that you don't play basketball on paper, right? Just because you have the 4 best players doesn't mean that you've got a full roster. And that's where the Nuggets and other teams do better, right? Especially considering the health concerns that come with this team. I don't think I'm not going to call Bradley Beal's injuries fake in any way. I do believe his injuries were real. It's been a few years since he's played more than 60 games. I want to say the last time was back in 2018. And considering that prior to that, he actually didn't have a streak of injuries. Now, I will say back then basketball was more competitive for him in a Wizards jersey. These last few years, they haven't been competitive, so I won't say that there was ever a rush to come back to the court as it might have been in the past. Now, again, those last couple times that he played more than 60 games, he had a 2-year stretch where he played 82 games, and the year prior from that, he played 77 games. So he was playing plenty of games back then, but I want to say it was more competitive for him in the Wizards jersey, right? Now, when it comes to Kevin Durant, now he's always had his nagging injuries that kind of pop up here and there. So, there's no reason to think that won't continue into this upcoming season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kevin Durant miss some time. But I want to say that between Devin Booker and Beal and Ayton, with some level of role players, they're going to be fine and they can make it into the playoffs. And once they're in the playoffs, anything can happen. I'm not going to say that I can pick them over the Nuggets today because, to be honest, I wouldn't. But that doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to give them a run for their money, right? Think back to when the Warriors did get together, right, with Kevin Durant and the OKC Thunder. They were able to get both Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to work with Russ, right? And at that time, now granted, today we can look back on it and say it didn't work. We didn't know that Carmelo Anthony's game wasn't what it was at that time when he left New York and, all of that, right? But at that time, when they were put together, you were looking at this team as, wow, they actually constructed a team that is going to be competitive with the Warriors. Nobody picked them to beat the Warriors, but you just need to be competitive with them, right? When you're looking at the Rockets, nobody thought the Rockets were going to beat the Warriors back then, but we saw them be competitive. And that's what I think the Suns did just now, right? They became competitive. And that's all that you can ask for sometimes, because once you're in the playoffs, anything happens, right? I want to say that applies to many, many teams. I would rather be competitive. If you're not going to be competitive, then what are you doing, right? I would rather be competitive and try than not be competitive at all. Some people think that if you can't win the championship, then it's all for nothing. And I'm not that person. I do believe that if you can be competitive, that gives you a chance. And all you need is a chance. Most teams, if you don't have a chance, then it is a waste. But if you have a chance, that's all you need. If you can get to make it to the conference finals, you're close. You're knocking on the door. So you don't gut a team that's knocking on the door, in my opinion. Anyways, moving on from that point. The other thing I also wanted to consider when this team does get into hopefully into the playoffs is how they match up against the other teams. Now, again, we don't have a full roster here to compare, but when you consider, again, the entire Western Conference, thinking about the 8 teams that did make it into the playoffs this past year, and we can even go into, that 9 and 10 position if you want to include teams like the Pelicans and whatnot. Like I said, although I'm not picking them over the Nuggets, I am surely picking them over just about every other team as long as they can make it into the playoffs healthy. I don't know that the Warriors are going to be better than this team. I can't assume that. I don't think the Lakers are going to be better than this team as it is right now. I don't see the Clippers being better than this team as it is right now. However, I do have them in 3rd place if they can be healthy. If anything, maybe 2nd place just because I see their depth. I see all the pieces around Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So if anything, that's the only other team. They might be tied for 2nd place in my eyes. I wish I thought heavier on that before starting this video. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I might still have the Clippers as number 2 now that I think about it. But anyways, so at worst, this is the 3rd best team in the conference at worst. I think that gives you more than enough depending on what you do with filling out the roster. So hopefully things can go forward, and I'm really looking forward to this season. Right? Not We enjoyed the time that parity was. There, basketball has been competitive ever since the Warriors broke apart. Right? We know the truth. Nobody here can lie and say, "Oh my goodness, we wish when the Warriors still had Kevin Durant." Nobody wished for that. But to see it kind of feel a little more intense, a little more competitive right now, it's it's a good look. I'm looking forward to this season, and I hope you guys are too. And as usual, of course, like and subscribe if you guys like the content. And of course, I'm gonna keep pushing some out, right? So thank you guys for listening, and have a great day. Peace.